Welcome to the Richard Stewart Show. My name is Richard Stewart. I'm a former national team player for the Canadian national team who won a silver medal for Canada in the 91 games in Sheffield, England. I also played at St. Joseph's University NCAA Division I in the Atlantic 10 Conference.
Stewart again down the lane, no foul, they let him have it. Richard has 19.
Currently, I own Advanced Basketball Canada, a program that teaches kids how to play basketball from the fundamentals to the more advanced. Two of the notable players that I've trained are Dillon who plays for the Memphis Grizzlies,
and Brooks will go and jam it with the right hand off the setup by Moran.
And Ignas Brazdeikiz,
Brazdeikiz to steal, some contact, and we play on. Brazdeikiz,
who plays for the New York Knicks. I also train ladies, and the ladies that are in university and have played in Europe as well. So I have a lot of ladies who have trained and are playing basketball. Welcome to the Richard Stewart Show. My name is Richard Stewart. Hey, true believers. Thank you for tuning in this week. I have a great treat for you. A young man who knows basketball from Philadelphia, knows about the Atlantic 10, knows about the Big East. A guy who can tell you a little bit about John Chaney, John Calipari, Rolly Massimino, Fran Dunphy from Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania. So he has a lot of knowledge to share with you today. Hey, Ed, how are you, sir?
Hello, Richard. Thank you for having me on my show, your show, and thank you for the kind introduction.
Welcome.
Calling me a young man. I haven't heard that in a long time. My body doesn't feel young no more.
Hey, come on now.
Anyway.
We may be a little older, but we're still young. We're St. Joe's guys, man. We stay young.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
So, I wanted to bring you on the show, Ed, because I wanted you to touch base on the passing of John Chaney and what that means for Philadelphia basketball and basketball all around. What's your memories of him?
I was very sad to see Coach Chaney go. He was a staunch competitor. Always had the Temple Owls come into play. Always gave us fits. I can remember, might have been our sophomore year, Richard. They came to the field house. Him and Mark Macon, if you recall, the guard who could hit from anywhere.
Yes.
They came in and it was a close nip and tuck game, and I believe we won that thing at the buzzer, and everybody was running the court. I think it was like a 66-60 score game.
Yes.
Big time coach. He gave back to the community a lot and was really involved in that, and just an all around great guy for the city, great guy for basketball, and just, they don't really make him like Coach Chaney anymore in the sense that they're just a hardworking, mentoring type guy.
You know what, Ed? I'm glad that you said that, because his motto was winning is an attitude. And I remember Mark Macon from Saginaw, Michigan. Who else comes from Saginaw? Draymond Green. Tough guys come out of Saginaw, Michigan. And I remember that game you were talking about, and John Chaney comes up to me after the game and says, "Great game, Stewart." I'm like, I didn't even know that he knew I existed. And for him to say that, I was on cloud nine, because coming from him, a guy who gave a lot of African-American kids an opportunity to get a quality education. So John Chaney, rest in peace. The advent of the matchup zone, and as Ed said, a staple for the Philadelphia community. Here's another guy that we should touch on. What about Rolly Massimino? What are your thoughts on Rolly? Remember Rolly Massimino from Villanova University? He beat Georgetown.
Yeah, exactly. They beat Georgetown in '85. Back then, I was a big Georgetown fan.
Me too.
My sister was younger. 2 years younger, was a big Villanova fan, and I had actually an indirect connection to Villanova in that Harry Booth was a former St. Joe coach, was Raleigh's assistant that year, and he was a classmate of my dad's.
Wow.
And they were on the team together. So, I had met Coach Booth a number of times, and little story. At one point, there was some thought of me maybe going to Villanova and doing something similar that I was doing, that I ended up doing at St. Joe's. But Raleigh, again, another staple guy from for the Philadelphia area.
Mm-hmm.
He had his guys always working hard, always put a good product on the table, onto the court.
Yes.
And and the guys played for him. And I think that
They had
back
some,
in our day.
he had some great guys. I mean, he had some great guys.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember, Ed, if you remember this story, was when they built their brand new pavilion. And we went out there to play them, and we beat them at the buzzer with Pick Brown. I shot the ball to tie the game. Pick Brown shoots the shot to win the game, and it's their brand new spanking arena. We go back to St. Joe's, and the party was on. Every tree was with street. It was amazing. Tell people about that.
I remember. Actually, it's funny you said that because that was going to be where I was headed with the story. Yeah, I could still see Pick Brown's shot. May he rest in peace. Shot hit that, and the crowd went nuts. The St. Joe crowd went nuts. When we pulled back into the front of the field house, there were people. They mobbed the bands as they came back. Back. It was like we had won. I mean, remember back in that day, Rich, we were. I mean, if we beat Villanova, it didn't matter what we did the rest of the year.
That's right.
As long as you beat Villanova.
That's right.
And that was an insane game. That led to an insane evening.
Oh my gosh! Don't talk about the evening. Don't go there. It's a family show. It's a family show.
I hear you. And yes, it was
that night, Ed. That night, every tree had toilet paper strewn on it. Every dorm was rocking. I mean, mobbed the whole campus. And I always tell people, if you couldn't get a girlfriend before, you could have got a girlfriend that night because everybody. It was amazing.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was a good time. That's a great memory. Those two of the standout games that really come to mind for me is that Villanova game, and then the Temple game that I referenced earlier.
Well, tell me something. You also have a little bit of insight on another great coach, and I'm hitting up Ed guys out there because Ed has firsthand experience of what great coaches are like and how influential they were in basketball during those days when I was at St. Joe's. But Ed has a great insight on this. Tell me a little bit about John Calipari at UMass. At UMass.
Yeah, UMass. Yeah. You know, it's funny when I see him in Kentucky now. I remember back to his UMass days. UMass, was really not. I mean, that was a mediocre program at best back then. And he kind of came in, he kind of rebuilt it, brought in Marcus Camby, and the rest is kind of history. They started, dominating the Atlantic 10, and then next thing you know, he's off and running to the bigger schools and stuff.
He and John Chaney got into it too.
Oh, yeah, they did, and I think that's what happens when you have two feisty competitors, putting it all on the line every night, every day, with their, they're, wanting to go to battle for their kids. I coached some junior CYO basketball after I got back after school.
Great.
And when those kids, those players become girls or boys, become part of your family.
That's right.
You'll do anything for them, and if you see them being wronged, you just I could relate to that interaction and that level of intensity.
And I can too, Ed. I can too.
Yeah.
Because exactly. I care about the kids that I train, and I care about the kids that I've coached. Right. And when you want to see them do well, but you also want to see them treated fairly. I would like to thank our sponsor.
No Sugary Snacks! No Sugary Snacks! No Sugary Snacks! No Sugary Snacks!
Ed, tell me a little bit about what degree you ended up with at St. Joe's when you graduated, and what are you doing now, my friend?
Oh, I ended up with a degree in finance and with a minor in management, and I basically went. I kind of started out in corporate accounting. Then I went into business consulting, basically consulting for manufacturing and distribution companies. Helping them with business processes, softwares, accounting functions, and inventory controls, just kind of the whole kind of package. And now I'm doing a similar thing here in the DC area with an accounting firm, working with those types of companies. I've working with some nonprofits and so on. So doing pretty much like business consulting type stuff. It's been a good run. Been down in the house, and then in this house that we're living in, it'll be 21 years in August. So it hasn't been bad.
Okay. I haven't seen you in a while. See you on Instagram, and we speak a little bit, and we talk about Marlon Miller. We talk about Ray. Those are guys that we used to hang out with.
I
mean, great times.
Hey, Richard, you can't forget about the big fella from your neck of the woods.
Oh, my Ron Vercruzen.
Ron Vercruzen.
There's stories about him too, but we can't, again, it's a family show. We can't talk about those stories.
It's a family show. Yeah, exactly. It's
you know what?
Show
Yeah, Ed, it was just great having you on our show. Our time is scrunched right now. I just want to thank you so much. You're one of those guys that I know I can call on in times of need, and you've always been there, and vice versa. We just love you, care about you and your family, and I thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Richard. I really enjoy watching your pieces, and they're very entertaining. I love seeing the guys that you bring back on. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know what? Give folks a chance to talk about that Loyola Marymount game, and the heartbreak at the end. Hang gatherers end up dying when they go back to after the East tour. Go back. Hang gatherers died from a heart ailment. And how about that game?
Yes.
Tell the folks that story about that game, and we'll wrap it up.
That was a crazy game. I mean, that was run and gun, and just I can't remember how many points they scored. But that was like Hank Gathers, Bo Kimball, a local Philadelphia product, and Hank Gathers, they were, it was a sad story. Great game. We ran with them as much as we could, but they were just that year they were kind of on a mission, and to get to where they were going, and it just, it was a good game.
It was a great game.
Strong game.
Bo Kimball hit the shot from half court. He scored 50.
Yeah.
He shot the ball from half court, hit 50, and that got on. Because we were up at the end. We were going to win that game. We were up by one, right? Yep. And we were about to win the game. He runs to half. ESPN did a 30 for 30 on that guy. So watch that ESPN 30 for 30 about Bo Kimball and Hang Gathers. Yeah.
And there's one other guy we can't go without giving a shout out to, and he's the associate head coach at Michigan now.
Phil Martelli. Oh, my gosh. How can we not talk about Phil?
We got to talk about Phil.
One of the greatest guys you'll ever meet.
I will say, I will go on your show, and I've said this to other people. There have been two influential men in my life. My father is the first. Phil Martelli's been the second.
Yeah.
I learned in the 4 years I was with him through managing the team and him as the assistant, I learned so much on how to just carry yourself as a professional, how to care for other people, how to get the job done, how to step up and stuff like that. Phil Martelli is not only a great basketball coach, he's a great human being.
He's a great person, great human being. He came up to Toronto to sign me. He's the one that flew up here to sign me. And when I was in Philadelphia, that man he looked out for all of us. But I value his counsel. Just a great person. I'm glad to see him where he is now, and the success that he's helping that team with Juwan Howard. I'm so thrilled. Oh, yeah. You and I both have the same sense of folks. Him and Jimmy Black just took care of us. Jimmy Black, guys, was the North Carolina point guard who passed the ball to Michael Jordan for the jump shot to win the championship for North Carolina. He was one of our assistants. So we were blessed, man. We were blessed.
And you know what? It's funny that you bring Jimmy Black up. My first day when I walked into the basketball office to say, hi, I'm Ed McAndrew, I want to do this, Jimmy Black was like the first coach I'd met. My father had gone to school with Bo, so I already had that connection. But when I walked in, it was kind of Jimmy Black. I was like, oh, okay, you're Jimmy Black. Great guy, too. You're exactly right, Richard. He would always watch out after everybody.
You know what? Just love that. And we need to, we have to cut the show right now. I thank you for being on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Ed McAndrew. And thank you for being on our show. And you know what we say here at Advanced Basketball. Little things turn into big things. Thank you so much, Ed.